What is up, YouTube? What's going on, fellow fantasy people? And of course, what is up, the catch fam? You already know what time it is, man. We are rolling right into another mock draft here with the first overall selection in a 10-man league through the Yahoo platform. So you already know who we're rolling with, man. We are selecting CMC first overall. I know I just did a 10-man pick one about 2 weeks ago, but honestly, I just hopped into the first 10-man mock draft available, and nonetheless, we're going to play around with it a little bit. So if you guys do find this enjoyable or helpful anyway, go ahead and smash the like button, man. We are on the road to 100 subscribers here at The Catch. Go ahead and hit the sub button, baby. You know you need a little bit of The Catch in your life, day in and day out. And of course, drop a comment down below with what you guys need to see for your personal fantasy league. So let's go ahead and add CMC to this draft, and then we have 18 selections until we pick 20 and pick 21. So definitely going to be able to get some pretty good players down there as well, right? So I would like to actually go out and just select Patty Mahomes. So I have kind of an interesting idea for this mock draft. I just want to literally go out and get the best player on the board, regardless of position, throughout the whole mock draft. I think if we do that, we're going to be very happy at the end of this. So uh, we'll see what happens, man. I'm excited to get into it as always. So we see Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry. I mean, very, very typical top 5 picks. And there goes Ezekiel Elliott. Very, very typical top 6 picks. Aaron Jones off the board. Very typical top 7 picks. But I mean, that's what you want to see in a mock draft. You want to see things relatively realistic. So, like I said, I mean, I'm live streaming my 20-man draft on Sunday night. Going to be live streaming my 12-man league as well as my co-host Steven's 12-man league September 8th. So, really trying to prepare for those two drafts. I don't know if I'm going to be playing in more than 2 leagues this year. I mean, let me know in the comments down below if you guys think me playing an 8-man, 10-man, or a 14-man league is going to be helpful for you guys throughout the year. I'm definitely debating joining another league, and so is Steven. Really for the purpose of this channel and being able to give you guys, more hands-on feedback, right? As we can certainly give you feedback without being in any of those actual, actual leagues that are, 8, 10, 14-man leagues. But nonetheless, let us know in the comments down below if you guys think that would be helpful. So, excuse me. So we have seen a big run on running backs in the first round once again, with Devontae Adams sprinkled in there as well. And then here in round 2, we've seen Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and Austin Eckler. So a good little mix of a couple different positions, followed by Antonio Gibson. So we know that we're going to be able to go out and get 2 very strong selections here with pick 20 and pick 21. I mean, we would love to see a guy like D-Hop or Calvin Ridley slide to us, but Justin Jefferson or DK Metcalf should be available, as well as Patty Mahomes. But I'm telling you, if Najee Harris falls here, I'm definitely taking that of Najee Harris, but it's very possible for both DeAndre Hopkins and Najee Harris to get selected here. I really like that of Justin Jefferson as well, as we see Najee Harris off the board, but I want to target Patrick Mahomes here. I really want him on this roster. So my next, and there goes Patty Mahomes, man. Unbelievable. Things like this just always happen to me. So nonetheless, best players at each respective position. Let's add D-Hop to this team, and let's add Darren Waller to this team. And I'm telling you, man, if you want Patty Mahomes on your roster this year, you better target that dude early. I mean, it's going to be hard to get him, man. I mean, a lot of people really have him high up on their draft boards. I think if you don't get him, I mean, it's hard to say. You guys know your leagues better than I do, but we've gotten some pretty steady feedback that a lot of people know that quarterbacks go early in their personal fantasy leagues, and Patrick Mahomes is going to be the first QB taken off the board in like 99% of leagues. I mean, don't get me wrong, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson, all going to have very elite years. There's a lot of other very good QBs as well, but nonetheless, man, just I don't know. If Patrick Mahomes is someone you want on your roster, you better be planning on getting him very early. And I think in 12 and 14 man leagues, if you have the final selection in the first round, especially if Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill are sitting there, it's definitely something you should consider, just going ahead and locking up Patty Mahomes and or Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill, right? But I don't know, man. It's a tough call because then you're obviously sacrificing, a very good running back or two very good running backs, right? So it's a tough call, man. But I would definitely at least consider it. So with the 40th pick here, as well as the 41st pick overall, I mean, we want to add another running back. We'd love to see James Robinson fall here. Very unlikely that he does, as we have seen my guy David Montgomery also selected, right? I mean, Josh Jacobs should be available here. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin should be available here. George Kittle sitting there, Josh Allen. So, like I said, we're just going to go out. We're just going to pick absolute studs, regardless of position. There goes Josh Jacobs, pick 30th overall. So, uh, maybe we'll end up a little RB light on this team. I don't know. I really don't know. Like I said, we're just going out. We are getting the best players on the board. So, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin sitting here, James Robinson. I mean, all those guys are probably going to be selected by the time pick 40 comes. Amari Cooper sitting here, Robert Woods could be potential targets. Kyle Pitts is sitting down there. Man, Kyle Pitts looked pretty good this past weekend in that last preseason game of the year. I mean, we're definitely seeing the flashes there. I've gotten some questions on how I feel about Kyle Pitts, and I mean, like I've stated, I'm always hesitant on rookies, which I think has really bit me in the ass over the years in fantasy. And we know Matt Ryan historically likes to target tight ends, and we know someone needs to fill that void of Julio Jones' departure, which obviously Calvin Ridley is going to do, but. Calvin Ridley has been there the last 2 years, and so has Julio. So I think that Matt Ryan's gonna want another top target as we see Kyle Pitts selected there. And I think that Kyle Pitts is going to have a very good rookie year and certainly an amazing talent. So uh, I definitely like the selection of Kyle Pitts for your fantasy roster, but I just think typically where he's being drafted is not a place that I'm going to be selecting a tight end, is that's why you guys haven't seen me draft him too often. So nonetheless, we've got the 40th overall selection here. I mean, a lot of good players kind of sitting here, right? And like I said, we're just picking the best players, but we do want to check the running back position and just see who's available. Yeah, man, I think we're going to end up relatively RB light, but I'm going to add Robert Woods to this roster, and then I'm going to go out and I think I'm going to pick Julio Jones here. I mean, there are some good players available here. We could go out. Oh, we don't have a quarterback. For some reason, I thought we had Patrick Mahomes. Maybe because the last mock draft I did, I ended up with Patty Mahomes, and maybe because I was planning on getting him. But Lamar and Kyler Murray are sitting here. It's really your pick. You guys know I'm a little bit higher on Kyler Murray, excuse me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add him to this roster. And now, anytime Kyler Murray throws a touchdown to DeAndre Hopkins, we are getting big time points. We got a solid wide receiver 2 for this squad. We have a absolute stud at the tight end position. We still have the best running back in the league outside of Derrick Henry. I didn't say it, but just kidding. You guys know I'm super high on Derrick Henry. And I would actually debate that he probably is the best overall running back in the National Football League. But I think the best fantasy running back at the moment is probably still Christian McCaffrey. So we're very, very happy with that number 1 overall selection, right? And nonetheless, I still think we can end up with a lot of good running backs. So like I said, we're just going out and we're picking up whatever we think are the best values on the board. But we do need to realistically think about adding some running backs to this depth chart overall. But I think, as week 1 is starting to approach and fantasy drafts are starting to happen, we're starting to recognize that there's some good value in some of these late round running backs like a Javonte Williams, like a Ronald Jones II. I mean, you guys have heard me talk about both those guys a lot here in the offseason. I think that Daryl Henderson is a pretty good selection from where you can get him. I mean, Sony Michel, if you're higher on Sony Michel than that of Daryl Henderson, you can get him pretty late. Kenyon Drake, who I still think is going to be heavily utilized in that offense. The Houston Texans running backs, you can go out and target. I mean, we know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is dealing with injury and that there are other running backs on the Kansas City Chiefs team like Daryl Williams and like don't sleep on him. We're going to find him. I'm not going to say his name. You guys saw me take him in my 20-man league. Look how far down he is. And, I mean, I get it, right? And he's ranked 331st overall, and that'd be Jerick McKinnon, right? But, hey, Daryl Williams a little banged up right now. We know that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is dealing with an ankle injury. And Jerick McKinnon has looked good in the preseason. that might be the guy that we need to start thinking about. And it's not going to be a long term play, more than likely, for your roster, right? But could definitely be someone who helps you out in the first couple weeks at least. And then you might have to set to stash him for a while. It's going to be a tricky situation. So I don't know. I wouldn't bank on it. But nonetheless, let's move along. I mean, a lot of good players sitting here. I mean, Miles Sanders is probably a top target. He's not going to be available. Then probably Damian Harris would be the next guy that I'd want to get. But uh, a lot of good receivers sitting here, man. I mean, Brandon Ayuk, Adam Thielen is sitting here. Miss Mike Davis, who's available as well. I mean, we really don't need a tight end, but we could load up at the tight end position, go target some tight ends. But Jerry Jeudy and Robbie Anderson are like the two guys that I'm keyed in on, both with their very, very easy strengths of schedule. And they both, essentially, in my opinion, offer wide receiver one value. I mean, Robbie Anderson's not going to have as many targets as DJ Moore, I don't think, at least, right? Uh, but I still like the value of Robbie Anderson, especially when you look at, and there's Russell Wilson. He made an appearance for us. But Robbie Anderson's strength of schedule is very, very appealing from a fantasy perspective, as is Jerry Judy's. But you guys know that I'm just super high overall on Jerry Jeudy, but I think Damian Harris is probably the best player we can add here, as well as potentially a Kareem Hunt if they're available or if he's available. And then the next play would be either Jerry Jeudy or Robbie Anderson to give us another good receiver, right? But I do think there's going to be some running backs available, or excuse me, some wide receivers available later in this draft that we can add to the roster as well. So Trey Sermon sitting here also, but I'm just not 1000% sold. But nonetheless, some really good players here. I mean, Brandon Ayuk is sitting here. Damian Harris is sitting here. Kareem Hunt is sitting here. A lot. I mean, all those guys we just talked about, both Jerry Jeudy and Robbie Anderson are sitting here. But nonetheless, we need to fill that void. We need to get some RB1 potential on this squad. I know that Kareem Hunt isn't necessarily RB1, but is Daryl Henderson? I don't know, man. It's a tough decision. Let's just take Daryl Henderson because I do think that Sony Michel being on that team is more of a depth move. I mean, I get it. They traded for him. They gave up some draft capital, but as long as Daryl Henderson is healthy, I look for him to get the bulk of the carries in that offense. And nonetheless, I see him getting, even if we see more of a two-back system, I think Daryl Henderson is going to be more of a goal line guy than that of Sony Michel, and Sony Michel gives you more of that third down RB value. So we're probably going to miss out on a couple of those receivers that we really like. I almost took Brandon Ayuk there. I mean, that would have been more true to the strategy I talked about us doing, picking the best player available, right? Brandon Ayuk probably absolutely the best player available there. But I would really like to see like a Robbie Anderson or Jerry Jeudy fall. It's not going to happen, man. But that would be make us very happy, right? But let's just see. We got a whole bench to load up on here. So we got, I believe, six, two, yeah, four. Oh wait, one, two, three, four, five, six. Okay, I was correct. Every time I look down at this, I'm like, wait, what? How many bench spots are there? It always throws me off. But nonetheless, six players to go out and draft. And I think we've built a pretty good core roster, right? I mean, Kyler Murray, D Hop, Robert Woods, CMC, Damian Harris, Darren Waller, and Daryl Henderson. So I'm pretty happy with those guys overall. And I think that we can still go out and add a lot of good value to this roster. So let's keep an eye on the running back position. I mean, I personally definitely want to add Ronald Jones to this squad. I think he's probably the best running back available. I mean, no knock on Chase Edmonds or Trey Sermon or a lot of these other kind of handcuff situations. I mean, I would probably put Chase Edmonds in this conversation, but I think that more than likely he's going to get selected up. I'm kind of playing around with the idea of drafting another quarterback and adding someone like a Jalen Hurts to this roster. It just adds absolute value to the roster. But Antonio Brown sitting here is someone who we want to consider. Cortland Sutton, who's not someone I've heard a lot of conversation around, recently. You guys know that I am far higher on Jerry Jeudy, and I know that Cortland Sutton is coming off of an injury, right? And a serious injury at that, but he should still be considered. I mean, he is a great wide receiver, and the Denver Broncos have such an easy strength of schedule from a fantasy perspective, right? Uh, that he should be considered as like a really good bench player, a really good flex player as well. But it's just been hard for me to draft him because I've been taking Jerry Jeudy so often, right? So nonetheless, let's see what happens here. I mean, only four more selections until we pick, and we see that Chase Edmonds is on the board, and as well as Ronald Jones, the second, as we see Washington's defense get selected, right? Uh, I haven't really been calling out the picks here, so my bad. But nonetheless, let's just keep on evaluating and see how things go. And I think we're going to end up with two very good players here, nonetheless. I mean, I think that Chase Edmonds, Ronald Jones, and Antonio Brown, some combination of those guys are going to be available, which I think is going to add a lot of good depth to this roster. And if not, we could also target that of Robert Tonyan, who would add some really good depth at the tight end position. So, yeah, I think the nice thing about a strategy of just picking the best players available and maybe filling holes when need be, like we did at the running back position, is that there's not really any stress involved. You're just kind of picking the best players available, and you don't really feel like you failed in any sense. You're not really nervous because you missed out on anyone because you're just picking the guys that present the best value, right? So I'm not entirely sold on Chase Edmonds, but at this point in the draft, at the 80th selection, at the end of the 8th round, I think he's definitely worth the pick, right? And then let's add Ronald Jones. So now we have really good depth at the running back position, right? I mean, we already know that we're going to be led by Christian McCaffrey, but we're giving him really good support with Damian Harris, with Daryl Henderson, Chase Edmonds, and Ronald Jones, right? At the very least, we can bank on one of those running backs stepping up and giving us RB1 value. And now, with the absolute firepower at the quarterback and tight end position, and with us having two receivers that we're already confident in, we can turn around and just draft receivers, right? And draft the best players available. And it's going to give us, a lot of confidence in this roster overall. All right, so 12 more selections until we pick. We just saw Antonio Brown and Jalen Hurts off the board. Certainly the best overall values, I think, available. Let's go ahead and queue up a couple guys that we like. Cortland Sutton, as well as Robert Tonyan, as we see the first or second kicker off the board with Harrison Butker off the board. But at this point, man, let's just go out and let's just add some players that we're really confident in to this roster. Let's not even look at like projections or anything. We got four more players to add. Let's just add guys that we like, right? That's really the point of this strategy. Like I said, no stress. The first draft or mock draft that I recorded today, a 12-man mock draft, I was like stressing out, man. I was all over the place. I mean, if you guys haven't already watched that, you guys can watch that. I still ended up with a good roster, but I think that's honestly probably the best way to view your mock drafts is just have fun with it, man. Fantasy football is always a blast, man. You're going to be able to go out and get guys from the waiver wire to help buff up your team if you do feel like you missed out at certain positions. And I mean, there's always going to be depth. I mean, you just have to know who you have the most conviction in and who you think is going to benefit your team the most. So I want to go and add Devonta Smith to our queue as well. But we did see. It's pretty good players: James Conner, Leonard Fournette, Melvin Gordon III, Sony Michel, and Robert Tonyan off the board. I was really eyeing Robert Tonyan with this upcoming pick, as now we see the 49ers defense off the board. But I think the best available players are going to be Devonta Smith and Corey Davis. I would definitely consider Cortland Sutton as well here, but I think that those other two receivers give us the best potential for a wide receiver wide receiver one type value, right? So I think that they're going to be our next two selections. That is if they don't get selected. But Ryan Tannehill sitting here is a really good value, as we just saw Corey Davis get selected, as I was just talking about. Hopefully, neither of them not getting selected, right? So now Young IQ is off the board, but Chenault Jr., who I just queued up, is someone who I talked about a little bit this past week as someone who I think is going to have a lot of good value overall. He's really creeping up on my draft boards because I do believe that he is really, showing that connection overall with that of, excuse me, with that of Trevor Lawrence. So let's add Devonta Smith, as I think that he is going to add some really good wide receiver one value to this squad. We're relatively thin at the wide receiver position, part of me really wants to take Ryan Tannehill here, man, but let's go out and let's add Chenault Jr. He is really creeping up on my draft boards. I like DJ Chark a lot as well, but with that chemistry that I just talked about that we've seen out of Trevor Lawrence and Chenault Jr. in the preseason, I really like the potential of Chenault Jr. on my fantasy squad. So we still have two more players to go out and select, and I definitely want to target Mike Gesicki here, but there's going to be a lot of good players coming up in the next 17 picks. We're going to see a lot of good players selected, but I mean, Ryan Tannehill is still sitting here. I was really close to taking him. Just an absolutely incredibly safe, productive player to take. But let's go ahead and queue up that of Trevor Lawrence as he does present some pretty good value, and then we'll add Mike Williams to this draft board as well. And let's just scroll down. We've already got Marquise Callaway on here, so I feel pretty confident that we're going to be able to finish out this mock draft pretty well-rounded overall. I mean, if anything, we could go out and maybe pick up another running back is probably the only place where we have some question marks. I feel pretty confident about the guys that we've gone out and selected from top to bottom. So let's just keep evaluating things and we will see how it goes. I mean, Michael Gallup is sitting here, Kenyon Drake, Dallas Goddard. A lot of good players still available. I mean, Joe Burrow is someone who, I mean, we've been a little bit shaky about as of late because of him coming out and saying he's still dealing with that knee injury, which has been, in my opinion, a little bit blown out of proportion because, like, he had an intense knee injury last year that took him out of his rookie season, which he was looking incredibly productive. Like, he is going to be dealing with that knee injury. Like, him coming out and saying that, I don't know if it's necessarily like something that makes Joe Burrow an absolute stay away and like someone who should not be considered in fantasy drafts. Like, if you're dealing with an injury, you're dealing with an injury, and it's okay to be honest about it, I guess is the point I'm trying to make. And I look for him to be ready to go week one and to come out and really prove himself in comparison to what he wasn't able to finish last year. So I don't know, man. I'm not counting Joe Burrow out off of my fantasy boards, but nonetheless, I think we're going to be able to target, maybe a quarterback here towards the end that we're really happy with. Michael Thomas has really dropped down in the ADP overall, and I think it makes sense, man. I'm really hesitant about Michael Thomas. Like I don't mind him if he's on your fantasy roster and you have conviction in the selection, and just keep in mind that we don't really know if he's going to stay a New Orleans Saint or not, and we don't know when he's coming back. It's just a shaky situation, man. But I do think that the ceiling that he gives you is that he's probably going to be around whether he's on the Saints or not for the stretch of the fantasy football season that's going to position yourself into the playoffs as well as being in the playoffs and the championship game. I think that's the time he's going to be around. So I don't think he's a bad selection, so to speak. But I'm going to scoop my face. And yeah, Mike Gesicki's still sitting here. Marquise Callaway, Mike Williams. I mean, a lot of good players here, right? And we still have just two more selections to fill out this bench and kind of top off this team and make it a little bit more well-rounded. But man, I think I feel good about this roster. Like I said, we just came out and we just picked players that we liked the whole time, and I think that it's paid off. And yeah, I mean, this is really where you're starting to really build your draft board and really just know who you have conviction in. And if you're going out and getting, if you have an extensive draft board and you have an extensive amount of players that you feel confident about and you're going out and drafting them, then you're going to feel good about your fantasy draft. So do that preparation, have those players in mind now. And, if I don't have full conviction in your players, it's okay. I mean, always trust your gut. Always trust your instinct. You don't always have to rely on other people's opinions as well, right? So Trevor Lawrence is sitting here, someone who you know what? I really want to take Trevor Lawrence, and I'm just looking at if I want. Let's draft him. Let's get Trevor Lawrence on this squad. Let's get it over with. And then the next question is: do we want Mike Gesicki? Do we want Mike Williams? Or do we think Marquise Callaway will continue to slide until we select in the 14th round? It's definitely possible, and at that point we would be abandoning a kicker or a defense, let's go ahead and let's add Mike Gesicki to this team. Let's get a second tight end to kind of give Darren Waller some support, as we feel pretty good at the wide receiver position, pretty good at the quarterback and running back position. And now, I mean, yeah, this is a very well-rounded roster, right? I mean, 2 QBs, 2 tight ends, a good amount of wide receivers and running backs. From top to bottom, I feel like we got a very well-rounded roster. And then we'll just kind of anticipate and note that Marquise Callaway, Mike Williams, and Naheem Hines may be available when we select and 16 more picks. So we will kind of see how this shakes out, and we will see what kicker and defense fall to us, man. So let's just keep anticipating. All right, man, let's go ahead and crack down this roster while we were waiting for our most anticipated picks, our kicker and our defense. We did see Marquise Callaway off the board, but Mike Williams, Naheem Hines still sitting there. Just players we want to keep tabs on, seeing where they're going. But nonetheless, at the quarterback position, we went out and we got Kyler Murray, an absolute elite QB1 to have on our roster. Then in a later round, we went out and we got that of Trevor Lawrence. I think it's a very good quarterback, if especially if you have an elite guy like Kyler Murray, who gives you a lot of confidence. A good player to let sit on your bench, kind of see how his rookie season plays out. But I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a pretty good rookie season overall, if not a really good rookie season. So nonetheless, at the receiver position, our wide receiver 1 is out of DeAndre Hopkins. So anytime Kyler Murray makes that connection in the red zone, or either of them are putting up very good numbers, we're going to benefit on both ends. So that is great for this roster, a great pairing. And then we went out and got Robert Woods as our wide receiver 2, a very good support player for that of DeAndre Hopkins. And then we waited a while to go and get any more receivers, but we still got Devonta Smith, who I think is going to be a great wide receiver 1 for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then we got Chenault Jr. So once again, him and Trevor Lawrence have shown great chemistry in the preseason. And now let's say we had both of those guys in our starting lineup in like week 12 or against, very bad defenses like the Houston Texans, right? Then we know we're going to benefit on both ends. So I think that's another really good pairing for this roster. At the tight end position, we went out pretty early and we got Darren Waller, and we backed him up with Mike Gesicki. So 2 very good tight ends on this squad. And at the RP position, we have the best back in fantasy football, and that of Christian McCaffrey. Then we gave him a lot of support, a lot of handcuff situations, right? Got Damian Harris here. We've got Daryl Henderson. We've got Chase Edmonds, Ronald Jones II. So a lot of support. And like I said, we really only need 1 or 2 of those guys to step up, because we know that Christian McCaffrey, barring any injury, is going to give us an incredibly high ceiling at the running back position all season long. And then we know that we have some wide receivers and a tight end that we like, who we can also flex. And so, yeah, I feel very good about this roster from a 10-man draft standpoint. And yeah, let's go ahead and it looks like we're almost down to the kicker and defense. And I'm telling you, man, being 100% honest and being 100% realistic, I would absolutely forfeit a kicker if Mike Williams was available at this point in the draft. I mean, I know this is only a 10-man mock draft, so it's very likely, but I don't know, man. I'm going to have trouble passing up on Mike Williams here. So we're either going to just do a true roster and pick a kicker and defense and cap it off, or you guys will see that I take Mike Williams. Yeah, that's what's happening, man. We're taking Mike Williams. I can't pass up my guy. I've been high on him all offseason and preseason. Then let's add the Colts defense, because why not? And that is our team, man. And yeah, I had a blast with that one. Like I said, just a no stress kind of draft there. We didn't end up with the kicker, but we ended up with a lot of very valuable, very good players. So I'm super happy with that. As always, I thank you guys so much for watching or listening. Go ahead and let me know in the comments down below what you guys need to see for your personal fantasy league, what type of mock drafts you guys need to see, what type of content you guys need to see. My co-host Steve and I are happy as ever to be pumping out this content for you guys, man. Go ahead and smash the like button if you guys found this enjoyable, entertaining, or helpful in any way. And last but not least, we are on the road to 100 subscribers here at The Catch. Go ahead and show some love, go ahead and show some support, and hit the subscribe button. We're going to have all kinds of NFL updates, all kinds of NFL debate, and of course all kinds of fantasy football updates, predictions, and advice throughout the whole season. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button, man. Become a part of the Catch fam. Shout out to the Catch fam, all of our subscribers showing us tons of love and support over the past couple of weeks. It is truly so much appreciated. And one more time, thank you guys for watching and or listening. Remember, you saw it here on The Catch.